Hello, and welcome to this presentation on big analytics for small oil and gas producers. This presentation is being created in conjunction with MSIS 5633 class at Oklahoma State University in the fall of 2012, and my name is Grant Sparks. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So on is to discuss the need for analytics in small oil and gas companies. There are sources of data for these smaller companies that will be utilized, and then I want to do a demonstration, a few examples of how analytics can make sense of the data that's available and how it can be used in making decisions that apply to those small oil and gas companies. And to do that, we'll use Tableau, which is a visualization software. We'll do a couple of examples with that. It will be a well mapping task, and then also gas production reporting for a company. And then I'll utilize IBM's SPSS modeler to do a minor data mining demonstration on how we could predict the success of an oil well. And then on the last slide is my contact information for questions and answers. So, what is the need for analytics in small oil and gas companies? Well, many of oil and gas producers in the state of Oklahoma are small mom and pop type companies. They don't have an IT department. In fact, they don't even have departments. The owners of these companies tend to be older. They're not aware of the developments in analytics many times and the capabilities. And if we could get analytics implemented in some of those small companies, I'm certain we could reduce the time that's necessary to do things the old way. And lastly, there is a ton of data available. It continues to grow. We've just scratched the surface on what we can do with analytics in this industry, and we don't know what else could be discovered. So the source of small oil and gas companies, certain types of reporting is a legal requirement, a regulatory requirement. So all the wells in the state of Oklahoma are going to have some data reported to the state, and the department that's responsible for housing that with the state of Oklahoma is the Oil and Gas Division within the Oklahoma Corporation Commission. There's lots of data available, some of it free, some of it maybe not free, depends on exactly what you need, but for the majority of it it's free. It's just not really user friendly. Then you've got some third party providers of oil and gas data, and it is user friendly, but you're going to have to pay for it. So there's many more than just a couple that we've got listed here. So for this demonstration, I worked with Spess Oil Company. They have approximately 54 gas wells across the state of Oklahoma. They don't have an IT department, and they wanted to get a map of all the location of their wells across the state, some type of electronic mapping. The data at the Oklahoma Corporation Commission, in fact, the well data has latitude and longitude of all well locations in the state. So Tableau, the visualization software I spoke about earlier, has built-in mapping capabilities which can pinpoint multiple locations utilizing that longitude and latitude. So that's exactly what we did. We mapped out all the wells, the gas wells for this company in the state of Oklahoma. Make special note that this company, this is what you'll see with all companies. There's more gas wells on the west side of the state than there are on the east side. There's a couple there, but most of them are on the west side. And also note that they're in the northern part of the state as well as the southern part of the state. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. So, Oil Company had a well in Caddo County called the Forest Rumley, and in addition to gas, it produces a lot of water, and the company was trucking the water and it was being disposed of. It was pretty costly, and they weren't disposing of water fast enough, so they had a need to find the closest saltwater disposal well. and they didn't have one in their lease. So what we did, we used Tableau visualization software and created a map of all the saltwater disposal wells in this county where this Forrest Rumley well was located. And in doing so, we identified where the closest disposal well was, and the company contacted the producer of that disposal well. It was called the East Beringer EPA well, and made a disposal agreement. So I'll show you that on the map. So this is a map of Caddo County, and you can see where the Forrest Rumley is, and the East Beringer unit was the well that was found through this example, and the company could contact the producer and make an agreement to pipe the water over and dispose of it on the East Beringer unit, as opposed to trucking the water off of the Forrest Rumley and disposing of it elsewhere. So the company was like, well, okay, that's great. How about some reporting? What can we do as far as reporting goes? We know that we give lots of production data to the state of Oklahoma every month. Can you give us a report, for instance, for the Forrest Rumley well, for all of 2011 production by month? And yes, we can. Tableau does a pretty easy job of, you can filter by, out of all of the producers or operators in the state of Oklahoma, you can filter down to Special Oil Company, and then that will pull in just the wells for Special Oil Company, and you can filter on the Forrest Rumley, and you can see the production for 2011. You might notice here that, look at the production spike in October. That was the month that the water began to be moved over to the East Beringer unit well, and more water was coming off the formation, and the gas was producing greater because it had less pressure on it. We did this for part of the month of October, and then in November and December were full months. So you can see that it made a significant change there. The company thought that was nice, but they wanted to see what else was available, and they asked, can you predict if a well will be a gusher, a real high performer, or just a dud and a low performer, or not even a producer at all? So yes, we can do that. I used IBM SPSS Modeler, and by utilizing well data and performance levels for over 49,000 wells, could determine from that data what the most important well attributes or variables, if you will, in predicting whether a well will be a successful and a high producer or a low producer. Keep in mind that this is based off of the data that was available, and it may or may not be accurate in industry when applied in industry, but there is more applicable industry data that can be very accurate, and this is just to give you an example of how data mining works using a neural network, and show you how we could predict it if we had the absolute correct data. But this will give you a good idea of how. So I created a neural network, and the following well attributes were analyzed with a goal of predicting which one of those is most important to predict if a well will be a high or low producer. So the variables that were analyzed were the county the well was in, the section, the latitude, the longitude, the formation, and the operator of the well. Here you've got the predictive variables and the importance of them. And you'll notice that the operator number, or operator name, is the most important. Now, I can understand why that happened, because the data is going to show, big operators such as ConocoPhillips or British Petroleum or Marathon Oil Company. They're going to be, they're going to have some big producing wells, lots of them. That's why they're successful. But that doesn't mean that, a mom and pop that doesn't have a big name, such as British Petroleum, would not be able to produce a gusher, obviously. So, clearly misleading. but you can get an idea of how the tool works. Now, the latitude, I mentioned something earlier in the presentation. Remember the slide that had the wells on the west part of the state? In Oklahoma, most of your gas wells are going to be on the western side of the state, not on the eastern side. But they do not distinguish between the north or the south part. There's gas wells in the north part and there's gas wells in the south part. That's why latitude becomes more of a predictor than, say, longitude. Also, county is a high predictor because wells tend to be clustered, and formation as well. Some formations are known for producing more gas than others. So this gives you an idea of how data mining works with the data that was available at this time, and you can get an idea if we could get some more detailed data on wells and production levels. The possibilities are limitless as to what we might be able to come up with. So again, this is just a quick presentation on a couple of analytics softwares and approaches that can be had to help out small oil and gas companies. So if any questions, my contact information is on the slide. Feel free to contact me at any time. Thanks for attending and listening to the video, and have a great day.